I never thought a joke could destroy my marriage. It started innocently enough, just a passing comment during dinner with friends. My husband, Daniel, and I were at our usual Friday night get-together, surrounded by laughter, food, and the easy comfort of people who had known each other for years. His best friend, Mark, cracked one of his corny jokes, and I couldn't help myself. I teased, "Maybe I married the wrong one. At least Mark can make me laugh." The table erupted in chuckles, but Daniel's face stiffened. I thought he was just playing along, so I nudged him lightly, expecting him to smile. Instead, his eyes turned cold, and the warmth drained from the evening. When we got home, I realized just how serious he had taken it. He didn't even wait for me to take off my shoes before he snapped. "So that's it? You've been eyeing Mark all along." At first, I laughed, thinking he was joking, but the vein pulsing at his temple told me otherwise. I tried to explain, it was a silly comment, nothing more. But he kept pressing, throwing accusations I had never heard before. "You've been distant lately. Always on your phone. Always smiling when Mark texts the group. Don't think I haven't noticed." My chest tightened. "Daniel, you're imagining things. I would never." But he cut me off, pacing the living room like a man possessed. His words spilled out like poison. "You humiliated me in front of everyone. Do you know how it looked? My wife, flirting with my best friend." That night, he refused to sleep beside me. He grabbed a blanket and stormed off to the couch. I lay awake in our bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering how something so small had spiraled into this storm. The next morning, I thought he'd cooled off. Instead, I walked into the kitchen to find him on the phone with a lawyer. His voice was steady, almost rehearsed. "Yes, I want to file for divorce. My wife's been unfaithful." I froze. Divorce? Over a joke? My hands trembled as I tried to make sense of it. My world, my marriage, was collapsing because of one sentence said in jest. I stood there in shock, the word divorce echoing in my head like a cruel joke. I tried to grab the phone from his hand, pleading, "Daniel, please. You can't be serious. It was just a joke." But he pulled away, glaring at me like I was a stranger. "You don't get it, do you?" he said, his voice low but sharp. "You made me look like a fool in front of everyone." I saw the way they laughed, the way Mark smirked. "You crossed a line, and now I can't unsee it." I felt my throat tighten. This wasn't the Daniel I knew. The man who once held me through storms, who promised me forever. This was someone else, someone blinded by jealousy. The days that followed were unbearable. He moved into the guest room, shutting me out completely. Every attempt I made to talk ended in shouting. He went from being distant to outright cruel, throwing little jabs like, "Maybe you'd be happier with Mark," or "I wonder how long you've been comparing us." I began questioning myself. Had I really said something unforgivable? Was my marriage so fragile that one sentence could shatter it? Friends tried to reassure me, telling me Daniel was overreacting, that he was letting pride dictate his actions. But none of that mattered because he was already making plans. One evening, I found him sitting at the table with a stack of papers. My stomach sank as I saw the bold letters at the top. Petition for dissolution of marriage. He didn't even look up when he said, "The lawyer will contact you. You'll need to sign." Tears blurred my vision. "Daniel, please, we've been through so much. Don't throw it all away over a misunderstanding. I love you." He finally looked at me then, but there was no warmth in his eyes. Only bitterness. "Love. If you loved me, you wouldn't humiliate me like that. You wouldn't joke about being with my best friend." His words cut deeper than any blade. I realized then that no amount of pleading would change his mind. He had already decided who I was in his head, and nothing I said would convince him otherwise. The marriage I thought was unshakable was crumbling, not because of betrayal, but because of pride and paranoia. The following weeks felt like living in a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. Daniel's decision was final. He wanted out. He started avoiding me altogether, coming home late, sometimes not at all. When he did show up, it was only to gather more documents or mutter about meetings with his lawyer. I tried holding on to hope, but each day it slipped further away. Friends who once admired our relationship now looked at me with pity. His family, who I thought loved me as their own, chose silence. And Mark, the man at the center of this storm, barely spoke to me. He was too afraid of making things worse, afraid that even a simple conversation would be twisted into something it wasn't. One evening, as Daniel packed a suitcase, I asked him one last time, "Do you really believe I would betray you?" My voice cracked, my hands trembling. He zipped the bag shut without looking at me. "I don't know what to believe anymore," he said flatly. "But I know I can't live with the doubt. Doubt destroys love." That was it. No grand fight, no dramatic scene, just a quiet end to something I thought would last forever. The divorce went through quicker than I expected. I signed the papers with shaking hands, feeling like I was signing away not just my marriage but my identity as his partner, his wife, his future. It took me months to process everything. At first, I blamed myself, rewinding that dinner 1,000 times, wishing I could bite back the words that had slipped out so casually. But over time, I realized something painful yet freeing. It was never about the joke. It was about Daniel's pride, his insecurity, and his unwillingness to trust the woman he vowed to love. Love without trust isn't love at all. It's a fragile illusion, ready to shatter at the slightest touch. Now, I carry that lesson with me. I lost a husband, but I found something just as valuable: clarity. I learned that real love doesn't flinch at jokes, doesn't crumble under insecurity, and doesn't abandon you for shadows of doubt. Daniel walked away convinced I had betrayed him. But the truth? The only betrayal in our marriage was his betrayal of trust. And trust, once broken, leaves nothing behind.